The Bible's uniqueness, evidence, and influence. 1. Internal consistency and cross-referencing. The Bible exhibits a high level of internal consistency across its different books, despite having been authored over centuries by various authors. For instance, the story in Genesis 37 about Joseph being sold into slavery and later rising to power in Egypt, Genesis 41, is linked to the fulfillment of Abraham's covenant regarding Joseph's family during a famine, Genesis 12:10. These narrative threads align across multiple books, providing a cohesive storyline. Historical context and archaeological evidence. Archaeological discoveries continuously provide support for various events and contexts mentioned in the Bible. The Hittites. Once thought to be fictional, archaeological findings in Turkey confirm the existence of the Hittite civilization, as documented in 2 Kings 7:6 and other biblical references. K.A. Kitchen on the reliability of the Old Testament. The Walls of Jericho. Excavations conducted by Kathleen Kenyon at Jericho uncovered a destruction layer around the time traditionally attributed to Joshua's conquest, Joshua 6. The findings suggest that the city was indeed destroyed in a manner consistent with the biblical account. King David and the Tel Dan inscription. The discovery of the Tel Dan inscription, which mentions the House of David, supports the existence of King David as a historical figure, affirming accounts found in 2 Samuel 5:4-5, Avraham Biran, Biblical Israel History and Historiography. Eyewitness accounts and early manuscript availability. The New Testament books were likely written within a generation of the events they describe, lending credibility to their accounts. For example, the Gospel of Mark is often dated between 65-70 AD, close to the events of Christ's life around 30 AD. Bart D. Ehrman, The New Testament, A Historical Introduction to the Early Christian Writings. The early writings of Paul, such as his letters to the Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians 2:14, provide additional eyewitness accounts and direct participation in early Christian communities. 4. Fulfilled prophecy. Numerous Old Testament prophecies are often pointed to as being fulfilled in the New Testament. Micah 5:2 predicts the Messiah's birthplace as Bethlehem, which is confirmed in Luke 2:4-7. Isaiah 7:14 speaks of a virgin giving birth to Emmanuel, which is cited in Matthew 1:22-23 as fulfilled in Jesus' birth. Numerous scholars point to the prophecies surrounding the crucifixion, such as Psalm 22:16-18, which describes a figure being pierced and having lots cast for his garments, paralleling the accounts found in John 19:23-24. 5. Moral and philosophical depth. The Bible's moral teachings and ethical discussions are profound and resonate through literature and philosophy. Consider the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5:7, which introduces radical concepts such as loving one's enemies, Matthew 5:44, and the Golden Rule, Matthew 7:12. These teachings have influenced countless philosophers, from Augustine to contemporary thinkers like Martin Luther King Jr., who drew heavily on biblical principles for social justice. 6. Cultural and historical influence. The Bible has significantly shaped Western civilization, influencing laws, ethics, and cultural practices. For example, the concept of justice outlined in Micah 6:8, to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God, has been a foundational principle in Western legal systems and ethical discussions. Lord Jonathan Sacks, The Dignity of Difference. 7. Survival and preservation. The preservation of biblical texts is exceptional. The Dead Sea Scrolls, dating back to the 2nd century BCE, include some of the earliest known manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, confirming the accuracy and reliability of the text over time. P.W. Flint and K.A. Hamadi, The Dead Sea Scrolls, A New Translation. The consistency between these ancient manuscripts and the Masoretic text used today underscores the biblical text's reliability. 8. Recognition of textual variations. Scholars recognize that while the Bible contains textual variations, these differences do not undermine its historical claims. Instead, they offer insight into how the text was understood by different communities and cultures. For example, the variations between the Septuagint, LXX, and the Masoretic text show how the scriptures were interpreted differently in ancient Judaism and early Christianity. Daniel B. Wallace, Revisiting the Reliability of the New Testament. The Bible stands distinct among historical texts, supported by its internal consistency, archaeological evidence, historical context, fulfilled prophecies, moral teachings, cultural influence, preservation of manuscripts, and acknowledgement of textual variations. These elements collectively highlight its significance and invite further scholarly exploration, engaging both believers and skeptics in meaningful dialogue about its relevance and authenticity.